Support for this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code LJTV at manscaped.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lee Judges TV. I'm your host, Dan Potts, and Lee Judges is not about tonight, but I had to do a show because of what we saw and witnessed last night. So I thought, what better way to start the show than to bring on Sophie Nicolau and Kenny Ken to talk about Arsenal. Soph, how are you doing?
Here for reporting, squadron leader, and I tell you something, I'm ready.
I know you would be ready, and that's why I got you on. And somebody else is ready is Kenny Ken. Ken, how are you, mate?
Well, the thing about it is that, there's going to be accusations flying about, what we're going to say. But what I will say is that everything we've been saying over the last, since the start of the season, all the concerns, and even when we've been winning, that is concerns that have been shared by a lot of people who label themselves in this kind of let's take our time, level-headed thinking group, because performances don't lie. Yeah, no, fair play, and we're going to get into it. Before we do get into it, head over to manscaped.com if you haven't done so already. Put in the code LJTV. You'll get 20% off the Lawnmower 4.0. If you haven't done so already, get over for Christmas and get yourself a nice gift. Last night's football. Where to start? There's so much to break down. Before we actually break down 4 or 5 topics which I thought were quite clear for everybody to see, and I know people in the chat, welcome to everybody in the chat, by the way, will be wanting us to talk about just your thoughts, Sophie, to start with, about this Arsenal side that we saw coming up against the Manchester United side that was fairly uninspiring, let's say, without a manager. Michael Carrick taking over. Rangnick not ready yet to take over, but obviously had some say in what was happening. Probably, I would say, favourites going into the game, Arsenal, some would say, because of the way form is. Although form seems to go out the window whenever it's a top 6 side that Arsenal face. What were your thoughts going into the game, and then what were your thoughts on our performance? Sophie?
So going into the game, I always felt confident we would get a point or a win out of it. I never felt this was a game that we would lose. But of course, in football, you could lose any game. And the reason being is because in the last 6 games, Manchester United have not been able to beat us. We have been really good against them of late. And there's a reason why, because they're not the Manchester United that they used to be. This is a very different scenario than going to Anfield and losing in the manner in which we did. This is totally separate. And this is where I want Arsenal fans to just kind of think a little bit clearly. Manchester United are actually a team on a club level in terms of what they've won. Of course, they are here and we are here. But we are also among the elite clubs in the Premier League since its inception in '92. We founded the best rivalry ever in the history of the Premier League. It's still going to take a while for folks to rival that. But Manchester United are in a transition, a lot like us. 2 legendary managers. Our stories are very similar, Dan. Replacing legendary managers, not easy. Look what United have gone through. They've been through Moyes, they've been through Van Gaal, they've been through Mourinho, they've been through Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now Ralf Rangnick is coming in to take over. If we can't beat this Manchester United team, which is the worst in their Premier League history, then we, I believe, have issues. And it's okay to say that we have issues, because I think the biggest gripe for Arsenal fans is the game was there for the taking. Why is it we go to Leicester and completely dominate away from home and play a game and go to win the game, and when we score a goal, we go for more, show them zero respect? But we go to Manchester United and Arteta shows them way too much respect when they don't even deserve it at this point in the season. As a club, they deserve it, but as a team, they don't. And he got outscored, outthought, and outcoached by Mikel Carrick. Let's have that right. I stood by him at the beginning of the game And I said to Arsenal fans, calm down. Let's just let the game play out before you go apeshit on the team selection. El Neni was part of the team that won at Old Trafford last season. I understand that. But last season's story is very different to this season. We're moving on. We're evolving. We've moved away from Bellerin, Sokratis, Mustafi, Ozil, all of these players, Holding, Chambers, Leno. We're starting a revolution, an evolution, call it what you want. And to go back to picking El Neni after Sambi has actually been pretty good. And let's be honest, at times, Sambi has played better than Thomas Partey. To me, was taking a step back. And I tried my hardest, Dan, to support his choices. But to me, that also shows you the fear factor, the respect factor, and he was actually, to me, conceding to say, we're afraid of you. I'm playing El Neni with Partey. So you'll risk Nuno at left back instead of Tierney, but you'll play El Neni in the middle with Partey. This was a great point
that I brought up. I thought this was so... I didn't get it. And although El Neni actually wasn't so bad, and we'll come into performances, I didn't think El Neni was horrendous.
No, he was actually better than Partey, to be fair to him.
He was better than Partey. I was baffled by the team selection. Let me just ask a few questions on the team selection to both of you, because I don't believe that Lacazette has justified being dropped out of this team. I don't think Martin Ødegaard has done anything to deserve a place in this first 11. I don't feel like Nuno Tavares, as much as he's been playing well, was the right decision, and I stood by it ahead of Kieran Tierney. And for me, the second goal proved why Nuno Tavares could have been a risky starter. And Aubameyang, in the last 3 games, has been poor. Now, I said that Aubameyang would play, and I actually tipped him to score because I thought that in the last few games that it was time for him to get on the score sheet. But when you look at the justification of dropping somebody like Nicolas Pepe for having a bad 10 minutes, or not giving Gabriel Martinelli the 90 minutes he deserves because he was poor against Leeds, but Aubameyang can play 94 minutes for 4 of those games, being terrible and still get into this side. Lokonga, we don't want to risk Lokonga at Old Trafford. We better bring El Neni back in. But let's keep Nuno Tavares over on the left back. Let's not bring our experienced Kieran Tierney in. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I'll stick with you, Soph, before I come to Kenny, because I know Kenny's opinions on some of this. But I want to ask your kind of the Arsenal fan base that will stick behind Mikel Arteta and say that they understand. Defend those team selection ideas for me if you can, because I don't get those.
Here's what they're going to say, Dan. They're going to say, trust the process. Because why? Because the formula of how our season is supposed to go is coming to fruition. We lose to Chelsea. We lose to Liverpool. We get thrashed by Manchester City. We get thrashed by Liverpool. And we lose to Manchester United. The rubber meets the road there for me last night. I woke up today. I don't know how I haven't felt this bad probably since the Europa League trouncing against Chelsea. I woke up feeling terrible today because it's a game we could have won. And he keeps talking about previously taking the handbrake off. He put the handbrake on. Are you telling me that after scoring and going ahead, when we retreat, that's the players, or is that not a directive of the managers? So with the Arsenal fans, I will say this. At some point, there has to be progression. We want to laud our team when we beat Villa, when we beat Leicester, we thrashed Tottenham in 35 minutes. But we can't be critical of a team going to Old Trafford and, in a sense, a team that clearly was given instructions what to do when we go 1-0 up. That is, for me, we should have gone in for the kill. Why did we go in for the kill against Leicester? I say that again, but we didn't against Manchester United. Why? Because Ronaldo plays for them? Because they signed Jadon Sancho? Because it's Old Trafford? It's just not the same. So that is where I think I have the biggest issue with some Arsenal fans is I say what I see based on a game-by-game basis. And when you look at our season overall and you see how many goals we scored, how many chances we've created, is it that great? It's been happening in spurts. 45 minutes against Villa, 35 minutes against Tottenham, 1 half against Leicester, 20 minutes against Man United, got lucky against Norwich, Burnley, Brighton. at some point, it's okay to ask the questions. It doesn't mean you're a hater. It just means you love your club and you say what you see based on what's happening on the pitch. And this manager last night was naive and he was arrogant. He thought he could go to United, get a goal and win the game. And he's not learning those parts of the game, Dan and Kenny. He's just not. The naivety against Liverpool and Manchester United was evident.
Spot on, Soph. I can't disagree with what you're saying. Kenny, I'm going to bring you in because I think Sophie makes a great point there in terms of us scoring a goal and then sitting back. It looked as if, Ken, and I said to my dad earlier, and I gave this example. My nephew's 4 years old. It's like me playing in the garden with my nephew, right? Honestly, this is unbelievable. It's like me playing in the garden with my nephew with me little five-a-side goals, scoring a goal and then going, go on then, you get one now. Okay, cool. Right, now I'll come back and I'll score one. Right, I'll go on then, you come and get one then. Then it's 2-2. And then it's like we're waiting for them to come and score a goal against us. And then when they do, we better go and score another one now. And that's exactly what I saw happening. Why are we doing that, Ken? Why can't we go and kill games off?
Well, that's the same accusation that was labelled against the much maligned Unai Emery. You know, Unai Emery's kind of downfall, part of his downfall, obviously, you know, losing in Baku was his Armageddon. But there were other performances at Old Trafford where he was maligned because of our 2-2 draw there in his first season. And the second season when it was 1-1, both times when Man United were at 6s and 7s, he got criticised because we didn't go for the kill. We were doing the same thing under Mikel as well. And I think what Arsenal fans need to ask themselves, a massive, massive question that goes to all Arsenal fans. If you like a team that's organised, you know, it's good defensively and, you know, is, you know, works hard off the ball, the Mikel Arteta was your manager. That's fine. That's fine. But you're not going to get top four. You're not even going to get into the European places because what will happen is that teams that are generally difficult to beat have difficulty scoring in the last third. It's happened all over in the 40 years that I've been watching football. So I don't see why it would change now. And I think that if you want a team that's on the front foot, that is going to get the best out of its front two or front three, then Mikel's not the manager for you because the evidence, as Sophie mentioned, has been there. We've one of our biggest complaints, even though we were on that sort of 10-game unbeaten run, was the lack of spark within the front three. Aubameyang's form was a lack of spark. We were seeing goals in a bit of spurts, you know, Smith Rowe's in a bit of form, but we weren't getting goals throughout the team because that's what gets you in the top four. That's what, you know, gets you challenging because that's what we used to do before. I know people say, oh, it's all in the past, but think about it. You know, Henri Perez, you know, and Lundberg, whenever they play together, all in double figures. And that was, in some cases, was getting us in, you know, second in league, you know, at Chelsea. That is the levels that Mikel should have got to, you know, the 2 years he's been at the football club. And my biggest fear is that in 2 years' time, if he's still here, and, you know, I think all of us resign to the fact he will be here, you'll be having the same concerns regarding that. You're going to be seeing a team that's compact, difficult to beat, but it'll be a situation where there'll be nowhere near challenge for the league and nowhere near getting the top four, despite the fact that he might buy, you know, a centre forward, he might buy, you know, a proper creator rather than you know, the guy that we're going to talk about later. But again, it's his mentality and his tactics. You know, he can't, you know, change his tactics. People have been bought into the idea that because he worked under Pep Guardiola and he played for Arsene Wenger, that we're going to be getting the kind of football that, you know, Man City watch week in, week out, and the kind of Harlem Globetrotter football that we got under Arsene in his first spell. Fans got really excited by that. And fans are, the reason why Mikel's getting a lot of support is because, you know, well, you know, Pep rates him, Arsene, he worked under Arsene. Oh yeah, trust the process. That's fair enough. But if Arsenal fans want to talk about a trust the process or youth project, then get a manager in who actually can, you know, kind of work and organise a process.
Who would you have, Kenny? Who would you go for Ten Hag and Overmars? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If the club are going by this sort of like let's take our time, let's have an organic process, then get a manager that befits that title, and that's Ten Hag. Because at the moment, what you're going to get with Mikel is you're going to get not just a handbrake on, handbrake off. You're going to get 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And that's what we had last season. We had it even in his first season, but that got sandwiched between lockdown and then us winning the FA Cup. And that is what you're getting.
The toughest part, Kenny, about this. Sorry to jump.
No, it's all right.
I'm so like this over it because we didn't have to take 10 steps back yesterday. We didn't. That I think is why we're all feeling the way we are today. Against Liverpool, fine. Okay, they're smashing everybody.
Though? Are we surprised at that? Because it's not the first time that we've seen that kind of approach by Mikel. You know, in terms of like selecting El Neni, you know, and there is someone he trusts, and that's very much in his image. But if you look at the players right now, they're micromanaged by Mikel to a certain extent that it's like they're waiting to make that transition from defence and attack. They're looking across and saying, "Oh, what does Mikel want us to do now?" There isn't a manager on the field. Because I was talking to a few mates, and I think obviously this is like a family program, but you need someone, a leader on the field, who can basically do that on the field. A leader say, right, this is how we're going to change the tactics, and now we're going to, you know, like I said, manage the game. We don't have that, so Mikel is always going to get away with micromanaging the team into his image, and it's so basically when we need to change the game, it doesn't come quickly enough. Like the substitutions yesterday were embarrassing.
Yeah, they were really. We'll come on to that because that has got to be mentioned. But Kenny, before we do go into more about the performances of individuals, let's stick to the manager. In your humble opinion, Kenny, where does Mikel Arteta have to finish, in your opinion, to be getting the sack at Arsenal? What position?
Well, the thing about it, right, is that it depends. Arsenal Football Club over the years, I've supported them, have always been patient with managers, especially managers who won the league. The only 2 managers who've never got the time that the other managers have got were Bruce Rioch and Unai Emery. Both managers who I think that the club didn't really want. I think the club were tempted to hire Mikel after Arsene Wenger left, but they bottled it because of his lack of experience. So they probably got impressed by Unai Emery's PowerPoints and his knowledge of our players and knowledge of the game. So that's why he picked him. Bruce Rioch didn't get the Arsenal, was never going to get the job because we were always looking for Arsene Wenger behind the background, and we just said, all right, let's leave him there. And then when Wenger's available, we would just tell him to pack his bags. So apart from that, every Arsenal manager's got time, and fans have always bought into that as well. So it's the Arsenal way. The only way Mikel Arteta will lose his job if fans, like I said, well, I know it's not the right thing to say, but it's happened with Unai Emery. It's happened with Arsene Wenger. It's the fans' turn. Fans at the end of the day, the match-going fans are the people who can be the executioners, like gladiators, isn't it? The emperor will look at the crowd and say, "What do you do? Shall I save him, or shall I let him die?" And what will happen is that eventually,
do you think if we finish outside the top 6, Ken, that he'll get sacked? If we come outside of Europe this season again, do you think he'll get sacked?
No, he won't. He won't get sacked because if he has the approval rating he has with the fan base, then he won't get sacked. Because what will happen is that Josh Kroenke is in the mood right now to satisfy everything he feels that the fans want. So if he feels that the fans are behind the Mikel Arteta, he won't sack him. Josh Kroenke, as far as I'm concerned, is on a commercial kind of field, and we've got this documentary that we're making and that we want to promote. I want to be in tune with the fans. I've got this sort of fan forum that I'm engaged with. So as long as that lot are happy, the 5 or 6 people that he meets whenever he can be bothered to meet, as long as they're happy, then he stays. And I think that's the thing. The fans will eventually be Mikel's executioners. But at the moment, there's too many people, and I say this with great respect, who hold the narrative. At the moment, the narrative is trust the process. So as long as that's going strong, Mikel Arteta will be in a job.
No, I think you've answered that very well. If I'm honest with you, Ken. Sophie, let's come to you. Let's get back to the games in terms of the individual mistakes, because I said
Dan, can I add one thing?
Yeah, no, go on.
With
Go
the
for it. Go on,
Arteta
mate.
thing.
Yeah,
Just
please
when
do.
I was starting to try and get behind him and support him, right, and really just be patient and take a deep breath and look at everything like holistically and turnkey, he lost me. Do you know when? You're asked questions about Arsene Wenger. He weakened his position when he sat in his press conference and he said, I would love Arsene Wenger to come back. He would be a huge help to me. Ding, 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 ding. That is when, for me, he's looked like a novice apprentice at times in his tenure over almost 2 years coming up to December, right? But in that moment, I thought to myself, what are you doing? I, as head of publicity for 20th Century Fox, am not sitting there when I'm talking to the media and saying, I would love my old manager to come back and help me. It weakens my position. It makes me look like I don't know how to promote, whatever movie, you name it. It makes you look weak. And I just think that whole stuff, what he should have said is a little bit like Mourinho. He came in, he's like, I'm the special one. All right, he'd won the Champions League, but you've won an FA Cup, dude. You've got love coupons from Arsenal fans. Why are you sitting there and saying, Wenger's great. He gave us some of the best years of our lives as Arsenal fans, but let's not forget the last 8 to 10 years either.
He
And
wouldn't
he
dare
sits
say that,
there.
Doug.
Huh?
He
I
would
mean,
dare
it's
that.
just bullshit.
We know it is, but the thing about it, right, is that the problem Mikel had was the fact that we were in that kind of it's clear to me as the day is long that the club have got an agreement with Arsene Wenger that he should make himself scarce from the football club and let us try and have a transition in peace without his presence. Now, that is an agreement. Now, 3.5 years down the line, when he's trying to promote his film, The Invincibles, everyone's around, I don't know, where were they, at the Albert Hall or, all the Palladium, all there, fans were paying them, thousands of pounds just to ask them a few questions here and there. Mikel, got himself in a situation, put a camera in front of Mikel's face. I'm not defending Mikel, but as knowing Mikel like I know him, it was going to be, oh, yeah, let's have him at the club, blah, blah. That's the biggest lie ever.
But he needs to have, but Kenny, he needs to have more cajones, right, to say, we respect the legacy, the history, what an amazing time, some of the greatest moments in Arsenal Football Club. But we're building something new. We're building a new energy, and own it. Own your club. You're the manager. I don't care what the PR spin is for the Amazon documentary and the Amazon show.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing about that is that he fluffed his lines. But then again, the club fluffed their lines as well by having by having anything to do with this. This was just like this is about Arsenal. Like, it's about the fact of what he's done for Arsenal. But Arsenal Football Club can make themselves present in a kind of like a low key. But for them to just be there, like I said, make themselves, the star alongside Arsene Wenger, it was only asking for trouble, because the questions will be, why isn't Arsene Wenger at the football club? The second question would be, would you have him back? And you've got a TV camera. The minute they say we won't have him back, it's going to be like a bang. It's the right thing to say, but they wouldn't say it because they bottle it. Because the thing with Arsenal Football Club, they've been bottling the big decisions for years. The only reason why they finally sacked Arsene Wenger and grew a pair is because they realised that he was a financial liability. I.e., the second season we weren't going to get a Champions League, so that was another £70 million down the drain. And the fact the fans just got bored of protesting and bored of saying the same things. That's the only time the club will grow a pair.
Can I just bring this back 1 second in terms of the ownership before we go into one thing, because this game last night for me sums up why I've had question marks over everything to do with Arsenal Football Club, because of the naivety shown with a young manager, with players on the pitch making stupid errors, with a project that is Project Youth, which has been implemented in the last couple of transfer windows to try and bring the age bracket down to everybody under the age of 25, looking at senior heads that are stinking the place out, like Thomas Partey and Aubameyang and at times Lacazette over the last couple of years. The balance is all completely wrong in my opinion. There's no leaders still at the club. The only one leader I see in the pitch isn't getting in the team at the moment because of Nuno Tavares. But actually, this Project Youth, we have actually seen this before at Arsenal over quite a few generations, and we won nothing. Yeah, we got nowhere near the Champions League. We got nowhere near the Premier League with players like Fabregas and Van Persie, with a manager of Arsene Wenger's quality. Then we went to the Ramsey and Wilshere years and won no Premier League titles.
Can I just interject? And let's tell the truth here. Even when Arsene Wenger had those great teams, like the Invincibles and the two double winning sides, he was nowhere near winning the Champions League even then with those great sides. So we've got to put that in kind of context that despite the fact that he was excellent domestically in Europe, there was coaches who were still working, who were able to work us out in the big games that mattered in Europe.
And I think you make great points there, Kenny. The reason I didn't mention that far back is because I'm talking about the Cronkite era at the Emirates, and I'm meaning Josh Kroenke and Stan Kroenke's project at Arsenal, if they even call it that. We've seen Fabregas, Van Persie, Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey. Now we're seeing Saka and Smith Rowe. Why, over 3 generations of players, is this now going to work? Why, in 3 years' time, are Saka and Smith Rowe not going to end up at Newcastle, like Fabregas and Clichy and Sagna and Adebayor and Toure and Van Persie and Sanchez and Ashley Cole have all done over the last 15 to 20 years? Why is this now different? Because we have a manager in that used to play for Arsenal. Why is it that our director of football used to play for Arsenal, so things are going to be different? When the same owners are in place, my question marks and my fingers have always been pointing at the owners. I don't like this manager, but I understand that he's probably doing his best. His best is not good enough because he's learning on the job.
Did the owners pick the team last night?
Precisely that.
Did the owners pick the team last night?
No,
precisely that.
The owners somehow, whether it's cash flow, it's not their own money, right? 150 million was spent. The difference is, you guys, the DNA and culture of the player profile we're going after is completely different because we cannot offer European football. To circle back to you, Dan, and what you said at the top of the show in terms of your question to Kenny about what will it take for Arteta to keep his job, we cannot afford to be out of Europe. I have heard many Arsenal fans talk about, oh, look at us, we'll be out of Europe this year, we'll have a chance in the league, we can do... No. Modern football is very, very different. You cannot attract players without European football. We were able to do that with Oba, Laka, Tierney, Partey, Gabriel, Pepe, because we had the Europa League carrot to dangle in front of them as a vehicle to the Champions League. And without that, it is impossible to sign the profile of player that even Adu talked about in his interview with Sky Sports, where he said, we've started with youth, but now we've got to draft in world-class players. You're never going to do that in this day and age when the Premier League becomes more competitive year after year after year and we fall backwards if you're not in Europe. Without Europe, you cannot sign Blahovic. You cannot sign those players.
Great. Yeah, I'm just saying. Point. But that's the thing. We all say that, but the thing is that what we saw with Man United is that what Man United have done is that they've gone through a plan B, and I think Arsenal following that profile. Like Man United, for me, care more about the commercial side of things, where they've made a lot of money on the Man United name, probably more money than they made when they were successful under Sir Alex. And I just get the feeling with this football club that to soften the blow. For the club, they're going to concentrate now on commercial activities and think, you know what, we're behind on the pitch, but let's just make sure that, commercially that we're going to be at the top of our game. Because the biggest mistake the Cronkies ever did for me was the minute you bought the club when it was in Europe, the first thing you should have done is follow the models of Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool off the pitch. Because what will happen is that if you have those kind of structures off the pitch, you're able to attract the right manager because he knows he's going to be working with the right football structure behind the scenes. Therefore, the right manager comes because he's got the right structure. When you've got the right structure and the right manager, the players will follow. The problem we have at Arsenal is that we're spending money on players, but we haven't got the right people behind the scenes. Come on, do you seriously think that anyone in Arsenal is as good as Marina Granovskaya? Really? Do you think anyone at Arsenal's doing a good job at Chelsea is Petr Cech? And then the loans manager is Makelele at Chelsea. Football people. We ain't got that at Arsenal. We just got YTS trainees in graduate positions. And until we have graduates in the graduate positions off the pitch, forget about challenging for anything.
I think it's a great point. I think you both make great points there in terms of what the manager's doing right now. I think my point is that, the ownership we all know is going nowhere. But I feel like what we've seen already is already Project Youth, and it's not worked before. And we're proving in certain games, particularly we played the whole of the top four now. We haven't taken a single point off of any single one of them, of the top four from last year. Let's get into a couple of super chats.
And real quick, like Stan Kroenke has gone all in on the LA Rams this season, right? When they want to, they do it. There's a reason why, because the Super Bowl this year is at SoFi Stadium, the $5 billion stadium that he has built here in Los Angeles. It's like being on the set of a Star Trek film. And he's gone all in on trades as well. They've spent a lot of money. And he also now he owes $750 million to the city of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
But the thing is that, his wife's family could write that check and not blink. It would be like us paying out £10 towards our phone bill. But the point is that he is a young manager in LA and Sean McVay. And I believe they've tried to follow a similar formula at Arsenal.
Yes.
And Sean McVay is they're both like there. If he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, if they do not get to the Super Bowl in LA, that manager's job, that coach's job is also under fire. So I get it. The Kroenkes have been disengaged. I feel like this season more than ever, they've tried to show an engagement in the club. They've put their money where their mouth is, or some money where their mouths are. And they're following that model of the young manager that they've done with the LA Rams. Now, I'm not saying that works because it's totally two different sports, but the philosophy, Dan, is very, very similar.
You're absolutely spot on, Soph, and you are. And I don't know much about American sports, but you certainly do. And I know that there's been lots of rumours about the way that they're trying to run this process over in LA. And it sounds very, very similar in terms of the style of coach they've gone for and the philosophy. Let's bring a couple of super chats in. This first one's from Shaitanya. So there's many issues. Aubameyang is missing. We have a -3 goal difference for a reason. Thomas Partey is inconsistent. We have poor substitutions. And why do we always sit back after going 1-0 up? Now, I think he's pretty much, in one super chat there, summed up all of the problems of last night, apart from Martin Ødegaard's mistake of giving away a penalty. So let's come into this a little bit more before we start to look at more super chats, because we have got a few. So thank you so much for your kind donations. If everyone can hit the like button for me, that would be amazing. Sophie, let's stick with you. Let's talk about Aubameyang, because everyone last night was talking about this guy. He's our captain. He's supposed to be our leader. He's supposed to be the one that we look up to. Over the last few games, I don't think he's done enough, in my opinion, to justify why he's playing. But I just knew that he was going to play. Everybody I spoke to said that he was going to start against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Last night, he was pretty poor. Lee Judges said we were playing with 10 men because he was absolutely invisible, and it was just embarrassing performance, a disgraceful performance. Got himself substituted in the end. I didn't look very happy when he came off. Made a couple of errors, a couple of sitters yet again that we've seen now against Newcastle, Watford, and he missed one against Liverpool, which I thought we should have done better with. And of course, even if he was offside last night, he should have been burying that chance. So what is going on with Aubameyang is my question to you, Soph, and I want to put this to you. Is Aubameyang going to do better somewhere else, i.e. is it Arteta that's not getting the best out of him, or is Aubameyang's head gone and we need to get rid of him in the summer? What's your thoughts?
Can I say this and answer your question? And I say it with so much respect. I don't care anymore about Aubameyang and what he brings to this team. Firstly, he was a pace player. He was one of the fastest players in Europe. He's lost his edge, and that was his game. Do you remember when everyone still wanted Michael Owen to be brilliant? Do you remember when they wanted Ronaldo to still be the original Ronaldo? There's certain players, they just play the game a certain way. And when they get to a certain age, it becomes very challenging. Cristiano Ronaldo can adapt. Why? Because he's just a physical specimen. The dude should be an example, like, for every human between now and whatever time. So Aubameyang's game, he can't adapt. It was never his game. So we're asking him to do something that he can't do. And in a sense, the manager is setting him up to fail. Because when he's not scoring goals, what does he offer? He's become a better defender than he is a striker. That is alarming, right? Second thing for me, when he turned up late to the North London derby and then didn't do his warm down after the game, sorry, you are no longer Arsenal captain. I don't care how bad Tony Adams may have been in his day when he crashed his car into the tree and all this type of stuff. Never showed up late to games. Never, ever show up late to a game as captain, but never, ever show up late to being a captain and the North London derby. And a lot of fans ripped me because I ripped him. I still haven't forgiven him for that. Where is your mental engagement? Thirdly, you want to like Ronaldo's post on Instagram?
Oh,
I had to triple, double check that. And I texted a few people and I said, please tell me that's not true and that's not real. I believe since he may have retracted it. You're captain of Arsenal Football Club.
Doesn't matter. It's too late.
Kev, Dan, could you see Patrick Vieira, Tony Adams, Cesc Fabregas, even Robin van Persie? I know he went to United in the end, but proven correct to go to United. He won the league the year after. Thierry Henry liking opposing players' post or acknowledging it in any way after we lose. Start Martinelli up front. Give Balogun a chance. I do not care because we're not going to finish in top 4. We're not. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. We're not finishing top 4. You know why? Man United have Ralph Rangnick, a tactical professor. Even, I'm going to say this, Tottenham have Antonio Conte. He will figure it out with them. And also, they have some experience. They've got Son. They've got Kane. You know, they've got players who have been part of the game for a lot longer than our younger players. Dan, that's how I feel. I just think, stop trying to sell me something that I'm never going to buy because the expiration date is done.
And Soph, you're so spot on with what you're saying. And I'll bring you in a minute, Ken. I just want to say this. If that is the 100% truth about Aubameyang liking Cristiano Ronaldo, if Mikel's got any balls, I'll be saying, can I see you in the morning, please, Pierre? Could you just give me your armband, please, Pierre? There you go, Kieran. Take us forward. Because if that is what his mentality is to like a post of Cristiano Ronaldo saying that was all we needed to do tonight, we take the win, we go forward, it's all about the next game, and Aubameyang's liking that post, that for me is you're done as a captain at Arsenal and as a player at Arsenal. If that is actually what has happened. Kenny, what's your thoughts on the Aubameyang situation? Do you blame him? Do you blame the manager? Is it a bit of both? What's your thoughts?
Well, things I agree with a lot of Sophie says because that was the concerns a lot of us were having last season about Aubameyang. I think at the time when he signed the contract, the greedy side of me wanted us to move forward because I've always looked at Aubameyang and kind of Lacazette, and I always thought, right, Lacazette's the better player in terms of what a centre forward should do. Like playing his back to goal, taking defenders out of the comfort zone. And, another one thing as well, he can hold the ball up really well as well. Aubameyang can't do that. You can see that when Lacazette's in the team, that's when Aubameyang's effective because Aubameyang could go in those sort of spaces that Lacazette is left free. And most importantly, he can play a cuff. Without Lacazette in the team, he's awful. And he's been like that for the last year or so. And, that could be down because Lacazette, lost a yard of pace. And that's the thing with pacey players. You're right when you talk about Michael Owen. That hamstring injury against Leeds in 2000. Michael Owen had to change his game. And he didn't really. He was never the Michael Owen before. Again, the old Ronaldo as well. The injuries because he got overplayed and everything. He wasn't the same player. And these are players who rely on explosive pace. In terms of Aubameyang as well, under Mikel Arteta, in terms of the way he wants us to play, it's not going to work, him and Aubameyang. So Mikel's got to grow a pair, and rather, if he's going to play the youngsters, give Martinelli a chance, another player that he doesn't rate that highly, because if he rated him that highly, he would have been part of his first 11, but that's not the case. He seems to have concerns about his game. Balogun as well, all bets are off after Brentford. So if Mikel Arteta really, really wants to, shadow box at getting in the top 4, getting in Europe, he's going to have to buy in January. Just, get the Kroenke to spend the money because that is the only chance we have of doing anything this season, unless he wants to rely on the League Cup and the FA Cup. Apart from that, through the league, getting into Europe through the league is not going to happen because we don't score enough goals. And alleged talisman is lost a yard of pace.
And how unfair is it, Dan, that Balogun is being judged on that Brentford game?
Well,
I can't stand this.
Well.
I can't stand this, man. I can't stand this. We've got Balogun, who's banging them in for the under-23s, who's dying to play men's football, right? And we've got Eddie Nketiah, who we're going to come on to, coming on at Old Trafford after just rejecting a contract ahead of Pepe, who is sitting there on £72 million player, who scored, in my opinion, the last 2 seasons, I think, more goals than Saka, Smith Rowe, Lacazette and Eddie combined.
And
he can't get
your question. You just answer your question in terms of Pepe. The reason why Pepe doesn't get games, because what's the thing with Pepe is that a player like Pepe is a sort of player that you have to be dominating possession in order for him to play his best football, i.e. create chances and score a lot of goals. Because in terms of Pepe's development, in year 3 of his development at Arsenal, he should be our top goal scorer, because he should be at a time when he's very confident, he's going to get in the box more because of the fact he's got quick feet, he's direct. So in that time of his development, a £72 million player, our dear manager has also been unable to develop him. In fact, if you want to, me to be even more harsh or tell the truth, he's got a front three that's worth 100 million.
Thank you.
180
the front
million
three is the most
shots.
expensive, Kenny, in the league. Our front three,
and he can't get the best
out
of them. He can't get the best out of them. I find that quite extraordinary. But in terms of
Go on.
No, one more thing. I think in terms of Pepe, the fact that Smith Rowe and Aubameyang are coming to the fore and they become now our talisman, Pepe ain't going to get a sniff, because where Pepe wants to play on the right, that's Saka's position there. If you want to play him on the left, that's Smith Rowe's position. So Pepe, it's a bit like it's the Mason Mount kind of syndrome that we're having at Arsenal. Because you look at what happened with Big Frank at Chelsea, a lot of players weren't getting games because he wanted to promote Mason Mount. Well, we're having the same thing with Pepe, with the development of Saka and Smith Rowe. They're now where,
Well, you look at Chelsea as an example. No, it is true. Look, Chelsea's the best example for me. That Tuchel's team this season has actually been the one that was coming 9th under Frank Lampard, because all of his players that he's brought in have been injured, and he's winning the league at the moment. It's unbelievable, isn't it? But apparently it's not the manager. Sorry, Soph, go on.
No, but under Frank Lampard, he promoted youth. That was his jam. But he didn't necessarily have the respect of the senior players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he had the respect of Rashford, of Greenwood, of these younger players coming through. But did he really have the respect of Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, even though they'd been teammates, right? Mikel Arteta, he's got the ear of Ben White. He's got the ear of Sambi, of Nuno. If I have to hear one more PR piece where Saka calls him a tactical genius, I might throw up. And I love Saka. But again, does he have the ear of Oba, of Laka, of Pepe, of Partey?
No way.
And you have to look at this in football. Why are we moving to youth? We're putting all of our eggs in the Arteta basket. That's the jam. And he is, like every manager, of course, he's a megalomaniac, he's a narcissist, and he's going to be a control freak. But is there a reason why senior players aren't performing? He doesn't know how to manage them. He's not great at that. He what's the word? He ostracizes them. Guendouzi, for example, very talented. He's in the France squad. Can't put an arm around him to coach him and say, listen, you punk, you want to play my team, you do not grab Mope's throat. You shut your mouth and you could be a legend here at Arsenal. No, sends him away. Torreira, I'm not happy here. Piss off then. Next, Mavropanos, out. All these he cannot manage men.
Of course
and
you can't.
I think that is an issue.
Yeah, and that's the thing about when you're a first-time manager. The first thing you need to learn pretty quickly is that if you've got senior players who've played hundreds of games, they're going to know a lot about in-game management. They don't need to be told, oh yeah, move there. You need to keep them on board. He's failed to do that. He's actually got away with it. The reason why he's got away with it is because whenever we have our horrendous results and we have a big results like we had last season, beating Chelsea, oh, what are these people like, know about? All these people saying that Arteta's lost the dressing room. Well, we just beat Chelsea or beat Man United last year. We beat Liverpool and all that. That is the accusation that you get with a lot of these people who are definitely behind Arteta, because they hold the narrative, and that's the thing. The stats don't lie. The fact is that if we go, through the same sort of process in terms of like how we're playing and results as well, then where we're going to finish, if you have a projector, is where we finished last season and the season before, 8th. Because, as you said, Soph, Man United have got so many talented players in terms of like the attack, in the attacking, forward line, plus in midfield as well. There's no way they're going to be this bad. If they go on a run, that's
100%.
top 4. And they're going to go on a run because they've got the best player in the world. And plus they've got players, because what Ranieri's going to do, he's not going to go, oh, yeah, let me just evolve my pressing. He's going to say, you know what? I'm here to get Man United in the top 4, win a trophy. And the man who's going to make me win that trophy is Cristiano Ronaldo. So you, Rashford, and you, Greenwood, are going to do his work for him and make sure that whenever he's in a good position, you pass on the ball, because that guy is going to keep me in a job. So that's what's going to happen, because that's common sense.
Yes.
So how do we get top 4 then, guys, this season? How do we get top 4?
We're not going to get top 4.
So if there is a chance for us to, is the only way to get rid of the manager, or do we have to then the manager has to turn it on this season, or is there no hope even with another manager, Soph?
I think we have to win a trophy. The League Cup is an avenue through qualifying, and then there's the FA Cup.
Yeah.
I think it would be, you know what, if we don't finish top 6, that's a problem. We keep this conversation about top 4. At the beginning of the season, I just wanted to be competitive in the Premier League again and be consistent. And if we finished in the top 6 and got a European spot back, brilliant. Was not expecting us to be in top 4. And I'm sorry, as the season goes and these teams are going to strengthen in January, United are still in Europe. They're going to be able to bring players in. They'll do some bits. I'm not sure if Tottenham are going to be able to do the same. But you've got West Ham, who may fade, but they're going to be there or thereabouts. I just don't see it being realistic, because unless we improve in these return legs against some of these teams that are in that top 6, it's just not going to happen. Where we've improved is beating teams like Wolves and Villa and doing Leicester over again at their place. I don't see top 4, Dan.
Kenny, if we lost to Everton, Kenny, Kenny, and we sacked Mikel Arteta and we brought in Ten Hag, do you think we would have a chance at top 4? Honestly,
well, we're cutting it fine, because what will happen is that Ten Hag, is going to need some money to spend in January, because unless he develops a style where we're on the front foot, then maybe. But for us to get to top 4, if say Mikel Arteta was to lose his job, we're going to have to go on a run, and that means attacking football on the front foot, making some decisions. Maybe having to say to Saka, you know what, your performances, since the Euros haven't been top class. I'm going to have to bench you a while, give you a bit of a rest. He's got to make a decision at left back in terms of whether he wants to carry on with Tavares or bring Kieran Tierney in, and then say to Kieran Tierney, right, you're back in the team, but you're only going to stay in this team with performance, because let's face it, everyone talks about Kieran Tierney being our captain and having the armband, but let's not skirt around the issue. He's been awful this season. So Tavares has got his place of merit. And he's keeping his place of merit. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to agree with Rudy, because I'm not saying that Mikel Arteta will get sacked if he loses to Everton. I really don't believe he will at all. I'm just saying that is the only chance for us to get top 4 another manager. Maybe it's not. Maybe this guy can do it. Maybe he can turn it on. I just don't have the confidence.
The only way you get top 4 is if you change the way we play and we go on the front foot and we start being ruthless, starting at 8 o'clock on a Monday against Everton, because they're there for the taking.
Do you have the confidence Arteta can do that, though, Kenny, in terms of attacking style? Do you think he can bring an attacking style?
Now he's got the criticism of it's not just people like us criticising him. He only has to watch the pundits yesterday on Amazon Prime You know, Thierry Henry was tearing into him. He was saying, why does this Arsenal team, you know, have the handbrake on after they go 1-0 up? He didn't understand that. He said, Man United there for the taking. Alan Shearer agreed with him, and to a certain extent, so did Evra. So once again, Mikel Arteta needs to grow a pair and start letting this team off the leash. Because let me tell you something now: the teams that are playing attacking football are the teams that are where they are on the table, and rightly so. And it'll be those teams who will get into the top positions, because guess what? It won't be just because they got a striker that is on the top of the charts. They got goals all around the team. Until Mikel Arteta, you know, stops, you know, accepting congratulations on the fact that, you know, we're well organised, we're difficult to beat, and we've got a great defence, then what will happen? Then you won't see us getting the top four.
Defence that's conceded 14 goals against the top four already this season. That's how great our defence is.
And what does it tell you when there's, 15 minutes to go in a game at Old Trafford? You have to substitute your striker and captain, who had been your saviour in his first 2 seasons at the club. That is glaring and telling.
Tragic.
And he brings on who? He brings on who for him?
What was that all about? Anyone defend that? Please, somebody come on this stream and defend Mikel Arteta for bringing on Eddie Nketiah.
You can't defend the thing. The thing about the Eddie Nketiah situation is a very interesting situation, because the guy's actually been trying to lead the football club for a good couple of years anyway. You know, let's not forget that he's probably kicking himself because he had a good chance of going to Crystal Palace and he couldn't agree on personal terms. He's now seen Edouard go there and enjoy himself there. So he's thinking, oh, what have I gone and done? So, because let's face it, I think what's happened is that I think we kind of the scale kind of fell out of our eyes, because when he came on against Norwich all those years ago and was Eddie, you know, that's as good as it got with Eddie. You know, don't get me wrong, he's a box-to-box midfielder, but is he Arsenal standard? No. Is he Premiership standard? Well, maybe. I don't know. Not sure. But you know, we can't have a situation where he's our go-to man when we're trying to win at Old Trafford. I mean, that sums the manager.
We've lost Kenny. It was that bad that Kenny just jumped off.
Cut him off.
Yeah, I think it was. So let's go into a bit of our midfield just quickly. I know you're over on Highbury squad, so we'll try and wrap up when we can.
We've pushed it to 8:15, so we got time. Don't worry. Yeah. No
brilliant. I just want to touch on our midfield. I want to ask you two players, Thomas Partey and Martin Ødegaard. For me, Thomas Partey. Kenny's back. 1 second. I'm jumping him in. Your Wi-Fi went down, Ken. You're back.
It wasn't my Wi-Fi. It was me. I kicked the stand. That's all.
Oh no!
Put my slippers on.
Well, you're back, mate. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. You're back. Ken, we've moved on. I just asked Sophie about Thomas Partey and Martin Ødegaard in last night's game, because Martin Ødegaard, for me, was the reason we lost the game. Gave away an unbelievably poor penalty, and people will say, oh, but he scored our goal. I don't care. He still lost us the game. I thought his performance was poor, and I don't think he's done anything, in my opinion, to justify starting in this game. And Thomas Partey, I blamed it on fitness. I blamed it on not being able to be settled in the pace of the game so far. But we paid a lot of money for this guy, and I'm seeing some inconsistent performances. Now, when he is on form, Soph, he's exceptional. But of the last night's performance, I don't want to see that again. Ødegaard, I don't think he's good enough for Arsenal moving forward. I really just don't get it. He might do some nice things at the halfway line and keep the ball very prettily, but I don't see enough. When he finally did score for the first time, getting inside the box last night, he gives away a penalty. So talk to me about our midfield and whether you think that there's any issues in that midfield in terms of our lack of creativity.
Okay, so my question to you guys is, when Thomas Partey was at Atletico Madrid, who was his partner? Who was he playing alongside?
Koke, is it?
Koke.
He was playing alongside ballers.
Yeah.
Mature players who made him look good too. The narrative is always Thomas Partey needs a partner. I ask Arsenal fans today to maybe readdress that question. Why is it always everyone else's fault and not Thomas Partey? If you're going to point the finger at Aubameyang, then then you should also say, well, hold on a second. What does Aubameyang have around him creatively? What chances and passes is he pouncing onto? Are we playing to Aubameyang's strengths? Are we playing to his profile and DNA, especially being captain and being our most expensive player, right? In terms of wages every single week, are you getting the maximum out of him? So the question becomes, you put El Neni with Partey. When Sambi and Partey have been developing a partnership over the last few games, is Arteta responsible for that? Or is Thomas Partey that weak that he can't adapt when he has to play with someone different week in, week out?
Yeah.
What is the crux of it?
Well, it's again, he's got to be working hard in training. He's got to get himself fit. Because Dave, whenever you buy a footballer, a football club, you do everything you can, to assimilate him into the team. You give them as much support off the field as you can, but they got to work hard. They got to work hard to adapt to this game. And last season, he didn't have a pre-season, but this season he's had a pre-season. He's got to work hard. He's got to understand and study what's in front of him. He's got to understand that our league, despite the fact that we've got a lot of technical, gifted players, albeit from abroad, it's still a fast game. So he has to use his footballing intelligence and say, right, should I be holding the ball too long? Should I be lending the ball to the guy next to me and then move into a position where I can get the ball and then move it quicker? Get the ball, move it quicker. That's what he needs to do. But what he's doing is that because he thinks he's got as much time as he has, that he had in La Liga, and he had all these, technically gifted players that he's used to because he's played in Spanish football for a long time. He's struggling with that, but that's on him. He has to take responsibility for his performances. Yeah, we can support him as much as you like as sucking the manager, but it's on him. Adapt more, move the ball quicker. Like I said, don't. The only time you stand still is when you're in the box and you don't want to. When a cross is coming in, you don't stand still when you're in the midfield, especially when you're trying to take the ball off our back four. Move it quicker and move with it. Don't just and be some sort of a leader and say, right, Albert, I'm going, you stay. That's footballing intelligence. It's game management. That's what these guys should learn. And if you got that and you feel that Mikel Arteta is trying to marginalise you or trying to micromanage you, just say to him, STFU, I can do it. That's what you say to the guys, because he shouldn't be having a situation and you're so heavily reliant on your coach to teach you the fundamentals of the game. And that's what is screaming about these players. It's all well and good when things are going well at Leicester, Aston and everything, where Thomas Partey has actually played really well. But in the games which we bought him for, let's face it, we paid £45 million for him to go to Old Trafford and not to win at Old Trafford, not get beaten up by Fred. Fred ran rings around him. Fred, mind you, Fred had a good game against Chelsea a few days before, but Fred ruined you yesterday. And then Anfield again, we bought you for Anfield, and then when we play Spurs in next month, that's the games we bought you for, to be, our kind of Graham Souness type, hard man in midfield, being our leader. So, at this, this is your second season. This is a season when you're meant to develop and evolve and show your true quality.
I put him down, Thomas Partey, as being our most improved player. I know it sounds crazy to be like, normally you go for most improved player, don't you, as like a youngster? But I went for most improved player because of how unfit he was last season. This season, again, he's proven not to be fit. And when he is fit, he's playing poorly and has been having some poor games. So talk to me a little bit about...
Sorry, Dan. He's had more good games than he's had bad games as opposed to last season. But you're right. In the game, where it matters, it's not working.
It's the consistency that kills us. That's the problem for us. Top teams have consistency. These players perform week in, week out. We get one good performance, then not. Another two, then not, then not, then not. And to be fair to Partey, has he been able to play his best game since he's been at the club? Because of who he's around. But I don't want to make excuses for him either, because if you're that value and you're that player, you should also be able to take the game by the scruff of the neck. And I've never seen him really do that, barring maybe a couple of games, one being the Leicester game.
I think when you look at what Thomas Partey is as a footballer, he's typically pretty good and has been for Atletico Madrid. So when he plays well for Arsenal, I don't feel people give him enough credit sometimes. So when, for example, the North London derby, I brought this up with you the other day, Soph, at the Emirates, everybody was loving Xhaka's performance. Thomas Partey was probably better than him, or definitely on par with him. But because Thomas Partey's normally that player, they don't normally big him up. But where he's definitely noticeable is when he plays bad for Arsenal. So perhaps there's a little bit of unfairness there in terms of some criticism. But I want to move on and talk about Martin Ødegaard. So if I'll come to you first. Martin Ødegaard's performance for me was really poor yesterday. I know he scored a goal. I didn't think he did much else, if I'm honest with you, apart from lose us the game. And that was give away a penalty. Now, people say he's young, but I don't know how old he is. I think he's 23 years old or something like that. But actually, when you look at what he's done in that time, he was a wonder kid. He's played a lot of football. He went to Real Madrid because he was a wonder kid. He went to Real Sociedad, where he was exceptional, apparently, which then allowed us to buy him. He come into the Arsenal setup last season, and I don't think really set the world alight, and actually was probably one of the most underwhelming signings in the summer for me. I was less excited by him than some of the others. He's come in and not really held down a first team position in this side, but Mikel Arteta does seem to rate him because he's now trying to force him into this side. I'm not so sure he deserves to be in this side. I thought against Newcastle he was really poor. I know that he keeps the ball moving and it's quite nice to look at. If you want to be an exhibition footballer, it might be great, but for me, I'm all about winning goals and games and assists. And I don't think he's been doing that. Now, he finally got into the box for the first time in a very, very long time. And he did hit it first time and score a very good goal, which was actually a great pass from Partey and Martinelli after we'd just been slating him. However, what I see him doing 10, 15 minutes afterwards is give away the most ridiculous penalty ever and lose us the game. So talk to me about what happens to the future of this player and if you rate him or not, Soph, because I'm not a massive fan.
Okay, so is Ødegaard really the reason why we lost the game? Like, is that one moment the reason why? Or is it the referee not pulling up Maguire and VAR checking the challenge?
That's something we've forgotten, yeah.
Is it Nuno's bad pass? Is it Ben White's poor clearance? Is it really? Is that why we lost? We're taking it down to one singular moment. I totally respect what you're saying, Dan, but I also think he put himself out there last night. And the difference is this. After the Liverpool game, when generally we needed more of a ball, not a ball carrier, a ball controller, Ødegaard would have been perfect in that Liverpool game. Time on the ball, take a breath, spread it around. Since then, Arteta goes into what I would call a mini panic mode, right? Same thing after Brentford. Balogun never gets a sniff again. Martinelli had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks to get his chance, right? He doesn't give players the benefit of the doubt. And now Lacazette, once again, is the fall guy. Why? Why is Lacazette always the fall guy? Everyone keeps saying he doesn't score, Soph. Well, neither does Aubameyang. But what Lacazette
and the other way around. Yeah.
Right. But what Lacazette does is he's a little bit of that Bobby Firmino role. Now, I'm not saying he's that quality, but also would Bobby Firmino look that quality if he didn't have Mane and Salah next to him? But what Bobby Firmino does, he allows Salah, he allows Mane to be the players they are. He holds the ball up. He does all of all the things you don't see that are unappreciated. And that's what Lacazette does for us. We're selling the wrong guy. We need a goal scorer, right? But right now, within this Arsenal team, we're selling the wrong guy. We're letting the wrong guy go based on what we know. Financially, if we can't afford like a £50 million striker, what are we doing? And so Ødegaard comes in and we're expecting miracles. Let me ask you guys this. If he hadn't been on loan last season, would we be giving him more of the benefit of the doubt? Does it feel like it's a signing like if we'd have signed Ceballos? I've seen you play, but are you that great kind of thing?
You know what I think about Ødegaard is I think, well, I can only talk from my own perspective. I think when we were talking about, creative players, everyone, we all had their names. There was Maddison who was floating about. I was talking about, Oussama Aouar from Lyon. And then you end up with Martin Ødegaard. It's like, going on a blind date and you're thinking, I can't wait. And then you turn up and say, oh, hello, nice to meet you, and blah, blah. And I think the thing with Martin Ødegaard as well is that he is an experienced player because, he was being labelled for greatness since the age of 15 when Real Madrid bought him. He's had loads of experiences. Is he the Norway's captain?
Yes.
He's a national.
Yes.
He's an always
Yes, he is.
captain. So he's the captain of his national side. So he's, they're in big games. They had a qualifying tournament for the World Cup. Is it with Holland? So he's played massive games. He's at Real Madrid. Obviously, he wasn't the kind of player that they thought he was going to develop into, but he has had some experience. But in terms of Thomas Odegaard, I think last week when he was picked over Lacazette against Newcastle was an obvious kind of selection, because I thought Newcastle put men behind the ball, make themselves difficult to break down. They wanted someone who can unlock the door, and I think that's why Martin started last week. And I suppose because we won, he was going to always keep his place. But let's face it, Martin Odegaard was always Mikel's go-to man, and I think because of Lacazette's equaliser against Crystal Palace, it kind of threw Mikel's mind, because what's happening, he's thinking, oh no, I've got to get the best out of my main man Laka, Oba. So I'm going to have to sacrifice, the guy I really want to play is which is Odegaard. And I think that's what Mikel does, is that because he's under so much pressure, Martinelli comes on, a play that he's ignored, scores a goal against Newcastle, then he's playing the next game. So there's no kind of continuity with his teams. It seems like if you have a good game or score, you're in the team next week or next game, if you want to be more accurate. And that's how it's that's the pattern, because we're going back from Crystal Palace at home, and then we're looking at Newcastle. I think that's where the manager is showing that he's struggling and that he's under extreme pressure.
You bring up great points there, Ken. You're really doing. You've backed them up well. And I just want to come back to Sophie really on that point, because I disagree. I think the reason we lost the game was because Martin Odegaard made a ridiculously naive mistake. And I think you can look at other players' performances, of say that actually they were pretty poor as well. But they didn't make the mistake that essentially cost us the 2 points, let's say. Because without that, we draw the game. So I don't think we would have won the game without Odegaard's mistake, of course, because I don't think that we did enough, in my opinion anyway. I don't think we did enough anyway to win the game and take 3 points. But I'm disappointed in the way that we just rolled over and died and just threw the game away by just a ridiculous challenge from Martin Odegaard. And that's why I'm giving him a little bit of criticism in the game last night.
I think it's unfair to pin the loss on him, especially when that decision went to VAR, it went to a review. The challenge from Maguire on Tomiyasu didn't. We get that penalty, the game's completely different. Should he have made that challenge? Absolutely not. Was it stupid? Yes. Was it a mental, impotent moment? 100%. But we lost the game in the first half, in my opinion. We should have completely annihilated them after that, pounded them, continued our ferocious start to first halves that we've seen that have worked against Villa, Tottenham, Leicester. But instead, we retreated like weak sauce mentality, and we invited more pressure from a very poor Manchester United team, and we paid the price and conceded before half-time. That's where we lost the game. What happened after, that was a double down on a terrible decision, and yes, it added fuel to the fire. So I don't think we lost the game because of that one challenge.
Yeah, but you know what it is? It's phases of play, though, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, the goal came down Tavaj's side. So, like I said, you know, if Martin's Odegaard's in that position to make that challenge and Fred, it's because Tavares wasn't where he should be. But
yeah, I agree with that.
You know what it is? It's a forwards tackle in the wrong area, and that's the thing. He was on his wrong side. He's panicked, and then what's happened is that the referee. I thought penalty, and I was thinking, oh, thank God the referee hasn't seen it, and he waved it away. But I think at the end of the day, I suppose in the letter of the law it was a penalty. But as Sophie says, the game, the mentality of the game went. But the biggest elephant in the room is something we haven't discussed. I think, and I say this, and it's not a criticism, it's just factual, because you expect that from younger players. But in the two games away from home, where a certain player was frozen, I won't name him, but I'll just say that he's from the borough of South. He's from a London borough in South London, but we're not allowed to say that.
I've
No, you
gotten in
make good
trouble
point.
for criticising
Yeah.
someone that rhymes with Xhaka.
Yeah, and I think listen, Saka's end product for me. I
Oh
think
no,
my nephew. I think my nephew hits.
sorry, but that one's from a borough in
Yeah,
West
he's
London.
talking about Emil. He's talking about
No,
De
I-
Bruyne, Croydon De Bruyne.
The Croydon De Bruyne is who you're talking about. But I just wanted to mention just quickly because I'm conscious of time. But I just want to mention just quickly some positives in the game because there were some performances I thought were a lot better than others. Gabriel Martinelli finally gets his chance yet again, Soph, and he did. I think he was great in terms of his work rate. The tenacity is great. I love the mentality. I think when you look at what he's trying to achieve there and prove a point, I think again he's proving to be in this starting 11 moving forward. Tomiyasu for me was a lot better than Tavares. I thought Tomiyasu was really great, and I thought Gabriel again. I just love Gabriel this season. Gabriel has been our best player by a long way, and no one really comes close for me. I think along with maybe Aaron Ramsdale is probably the closest to come next. I think Tomiyasu and Aaron Ramsdale for me have been fantastic. Some of the other positions have been a little bit more inconsistent though moving forward. But with Saka and Smith Rowe, I think that they're showing like they are the players that we are looking towards, that we are just looking towards for the wrong reasons. They're going to be giving us glimpses of hope, but they're not going to be the two shining stars that are going to get us out of trouble every single week. Saka needs to improve his end product because for me, I think my nephew kicks the ball harder than him. It's embarrassing when he goes through on goal. He just taps it towards the goalkeeper. Smith Rowe on the other side actually is improving his end product and moving forward. So I think we can have some positives from some of the things there. Before we do wrap up, so because I know you've got to go, I want to talk about Monday night very quickly moving forward. This is now a must-win game, Soph. And if we are looking at things seriously and what we've spoken about tonight, what does Arteta do with the team selection going into that game in relation to Odegaard, Aubameyang? Talk to me about Kieran Tierney maybe coming back in, Lokonga. What would you do on Monday night?
I think that this game gives him full permission to change whatever, And as manager, he always has permission to do that, of course. But I think that it gives him carte blanche to really make some changes. And I think this was the game that he shouldn't have tinkered too much with the team. Go to Old Trafford, get the 3 points. Everton haven't won in 7, I think. They are absolutely at death's door. They are terrible. They're not going to have Calvert-Lewin. They're not going to have Davies. But we're going to Goodison Park. They need something. They're desperate. If there's a manager that can maybe squeeze something out of this, it would be Rafa Benitez. We've seen it happen to us before, over and over again. I'm a bit worried about the game because I wouldn't be if Everton were kind of in a good spot, one win, a loss, a draw. But being in the position they are absolutely desperate. We're seeing their fans go out, executives in stands and making their point come across on the pitch. It's going to be a really tough match for us. And especially we've gone away on a Thursday, we got the weekend and we play Monday night again away from home. It's not going to be easy for us. It wouldn't surprise me I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get anything out of this match, but I at least expect us to get a draw. I feel really nervous about this.
Yeah, why would we not? Every single game at the moment is like that. So if I let you head off, and myself and Kenny will finish off.
Before Soph goes,
go on, Kenny.
I want to say, Soph, we speak off camera, and I just want to thank you for your support over the last couple of months when I was going through a difficult time, and it's nice to have my fellow Frisbee Park massive there for me. So I just want to thank you very much.
Love you, Kenny. And
love you, my
always
sister.
Thinking of you. Okay, love you, bro.
Love you, my sister.
I know that there's a big time coming up this December as well for you, and just my heart is with you, and always here, always here.
Definitely, sis. Definitely.
Okay,
so
take care,
thank
bro.
you for coming
love
on
you
as
guys.
well. Head over to Hybrid Squad, people. Go see
you
Sophie.
soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
In a bit.
Bye.
Kenny, let's just touch quickly before we do wrap up about the Everton game. What's your thoughts going into that one, and what would you do with the team, mate?
Well, I think the Everton game, I think what Rafa Benitez he's stuck in a rock and a hard place because he actually needs to get at least a point. But because it's the Goodison crowd, he's going to have to get them on the front foot. But the thing is, we can actually exploit Everton because one of the things is he's got them running hard, but there's a lot of mistakes within their defence because the reason why there's mistakes is, Alan is struggling because his partner in crime isn't good enough. Yep. So that's where we can actually, if we can break Everton's press and use their pace in wide areas, we can absolutely destroy Everton. But one thing we have to do is, when we get the first goal, don't sit back, don't give them any encouragement whatsoever, because despite the fact they haven't got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they still got Richarlison, who played against Liverpool, although the old team struggled. They still got Damari Gray, who was probably their best player in the Merseyside derby. So they've got players who can hurt us, but you're not playing with a great bit of confidence. But the last thing you want to do is to give him any kind of confidence. And that's why Mikel has to be ruthless, go on the front foot. If he doesn't go on the front foot, then we're going to have a problem. In terms of team selection, the back four kind of picks itself, although you're saying that maybe Kieran gets back in the side, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But I think that, if Mikel Arteta is not completely sure about Kieran Tierney's fitness, then he won't play. He'll be on a bench again. In terms of midfield, I think Albert will be back alongside Partey. And I think in terms of I still think that, Odegaard, Martinelli will retain their places. So there won't be too many changes. But the mentality and approach has to be a lot better for us, to win the game. He's probably going to show Everton too much respect, because it's his old club, and most importantly, he's against Rafa. So when Mikel lets the shackles off, Arsenal play better football and we win games comfortably. But the biggest elephant in the room is, will Aubameyang start?
And that's for me, mate. And, I'll tell you what team I would go with for this Everton game, right? See if you agree. I'm pretty much with you, man. Obviously, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, I'd bring Kieran Tierney back. Ben White and Gabriel, I think that picks itself. I'll be bringing Lokonga back in alongside Partey, although I thought El Neni was okay. He did a job for Old Trafford, and I don't think that it's going to be like that, so Lokonga comes back in. I would then go with the 4-4-2, but up top, I would go with Lacazette and Lacazette and Martinelli up top. Right, so I play Martinelli more central, and then the wide players for me, if fit, would be Saka and Smith Rowe. That's what I would do. I don't think that will happen. I think Odegaard will start. I think Aubameyang will probably carry on playing. But I think, Kenny, we need to change something a little bit more and see if we can get Martinelli linking in with Lacazette, and then have Saka and Smith Rowe either side of Lacazette. I think that's a good thing, mate, going forward.
Well, I think that's the thing. In terms of the team, I think that's the team that I think, he may play. I think let's face it, Aubameyang's going to start games, because he's albeit over the last couple of years, I think he's a top goal scorer. But this is a game where there's loads of goodies in for him, because Everton just, the midfield and the defence aren't connected, especially in attacking areas. I mean, the defences just make so many mistakes, because if you put that Everton's defence under a lot of pressure, they'll fold. If you look at the goals they conceded against Liverpool, the Jordan Henderson goal was because Liverpool got bodies forward and they had an extra man, and he was managed to cut it in. The second goal was schoolboy defending, a ball over the top where Salah got on the shoulder of the defender, through on goal. The third goal was an embarrassment. And Jota just managed to turn defender, but you never get turned. So they're defence that's very, very shaky. But again, handbrake on, handbrake off.
Yeah.
Do we exploit teams that are that poor defensively? This team is there for the taking. Will Mikel Arteta, go for the kill? We have to wait and see.
That will be the interesting one. Kenny, my last question to you is this. Having looked at what you've seen so far this season, forget last season, forget the future, we're talking about right now. I know it's early on in the season. We're only a couple of points off 8th and a couple of points off 4th. Where do you see us being come the end of the season in May? What position?
If we carry on like this, then we're not going to get the top 4, because you have to accept or assume that Man United get a new manager in. They've already got the momentum of the fact that Carrick's his short spell as an interim manager, the results improved. They won in Valencia. They if they had a pair, they would have probably seen off Chelsea, but they didn't. They invited pressure, and probably lucky not to win it. But if they were more, when they were 1-0 up, when Chelsea were in their knees, they could have gone for the kill. And then obviously they beat us. So you think that with more organisation and the manager building a team around Ronaldo, that they're going to go on a run of consecutive wins. So that means we're not going to get in the top four. And then, as Sophie mentioned, the Conte factor. Are Spurs going to be this bad under Conte as they were against, with Espirito Santo and where they're a bit, like struggling to understand Mourinho. So again, I don't see that happening. Don't get me wrong with Conte. It's a 2-year deal, and the players will get tired of him. But it's about right now. If he can get Harry Kane and Son playing to the best of their ability, and try and utilise Lucas more and more, and get their midfield playing the way they did under Poch, then we got fears. But the biggest elephant in the room is, rather than worry about other teams, Mikel Arteta needs to get us in a situation where we are finishing teams off. Our goals for column is a lot higher than what it is at the moment, because that is our only chance of winning the top four. Getting our Aubameyang into double figures this season, also getting more goals from across the field, that's our only chance. But it only happened if Mikel Arteta goes from being this manager that is handbrake on, handbrake off, because it's costing us big time in terms of Europe. But realistically, I think we're going to finish where we finished last season. So it's the FA Cup and the League Cup this season that Mikel Arteta is going to have to concentrate on.
Fair enough, Kenny. You've justified and backed up your opinions, which is always great. For me, I still think that top four is kind of slimly on, because I feel the teams around us are also dropping points. But I think the biggest change of the last few weeks has been the change of management with Spurs and Manchester United. And it's a question of whether West Ham can keep it up in terms of how far they go in Europe. For me, I think it is probably us in and around that kind of top six area. I'd love to see Arsenal win a cup this year. I really do. A lot of people talk about we got to get top four. I'd love to win an FA Cup again.
Well, get your bus pass sorted anyway. Well, yeah, Dave. I think the reason why is you want to put £20 in your Oyster to go down on the Metropolitan line, innit? we all love that. We all love that sort of congestion and being unable to breathe on the tube to the Wembley. We all love that.
Of course we do, mate. And who does not love that? Do you know what I mean? So, listen, Kenny, it's always a pleasure having you on, mate. Absolutely love it. Thanks so much. Good. Thanks for everyone in the chat as well. Well over 350 of you at one stage watching live. Great stuff. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Head over to manscaped.com. Support our sponsor, LJTV, in the code 20% off. And until then, guys, we'll see you next time. In the morning, myself and Graham Brooks are actually going to be doing a tactical analysis show for the Everton game at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So if you do have a bit of a hangover, you just want something to listen and chill to, then listen to myself and Graham at 10 o'clock. Until then, we'll see you next time, guys. And always up the Arsenal. See you soon.
Support for this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code LJTV at Manscaped.